Let's get into today's episode of Why We Succeed.
Before we move on, I want to tell this one little story. I was out with some friends last night, all IBM colleagues. One guy was like, he's like, Calvin, he said something to me like about how do you have longevity in your career? And before I could even answer it, he said, you know what? Never mind. I already know what you're going to say. He's like, I already know what you're going to say because you're doing it now for yourself. He was like, I have a passion for real estate. So what I should do is see if I can find opportunities in real estate within IBM. And I said, that's exactly what you should do. Because IBM is a global company. We have buildings all over the world. So yes, we have real estate. IBM is in the real estate business. Yes. Why not get involved in that if you can? You know, it just makes sense because now you're not getting up, going to work, doing something that you have to do. You're getting up, going to work, doing something that you want to do. Right. And that's what I tell people all the time. I'm almost 50 years old, right? I'm like 4 clicks away from being 50. I don't want to get up every morning and dread going to work. I'm going to do what I want to do, not what the company wants me to do. I was doing what the company wanted me to do when I was in IT. Now I'm doing what I want to do because I'm doing God's work and it's not strained on me at all. I don't get up dreading, I got to go to work. I get up and I'm excited to go to work now. Right. You know, so that's it.
Nah, man, I really appreciate you for sharing that. And my question is for anybody out there that's in that position, they're like, oh man, I got a passion. There's something that I desire to do. I don't necessarily see myself doing it in this current role at my current employer. Do you say that a person needs to have the right mindset? Do they need to put in a certain amount of work? Like, what do you think is necessary for a person to do what you've done and to essentially do what you were advising your colleague to do, which is say, hey, man, change your perspective with regards to what you want to do and where you're currently working at this moment?
Yeah. And a lot of it boils down to education. You know, education where it comes to you get some type of formal education if you don't have it already and an experience, you know, you get the education and the experience, you tie those two together. People can't tell you no, because now you have the real life experience and the education on your resume. So for me, when I was transitioning over into D&I, I started volunteering and getting my name out there to get involved in different programs and different projects to build up those skills and experiences so that way I can apply those on my resume. Right. And once I was able to apply them on my resume and I was able to speak on those things, it gave me that credibility that I needed. Not only that, I had other people speaking on my behalf. I had sponsors that were going behind me and speaking to people behind doors that I couldn't get into and speaking on my behalf saying, Calvin is the person that you need to speak to. Calvin is the person that you need to get involved in this project. Calvin is the person that you need to have as your speaker on these events. Calvin is the person that you should probably get to know, like those types of things. And those were happening for me regularly to the point where I said, it's time for me to build a professional profile for myself. So I was able to build a one-pager for myself to speak on those experiences that I had and utilize that when I went out to network with new people across IBM. And I said, when I reached out to them to see if I can get time on their calendar, they said, yes, I find time on their calendar. I furnished that professional profile that showed the experiences that I've had. And that way they know who they're speaking to before I even get on the phone call. It makes them get that information about me and say, wow, he was involved in these things. Now they're coming to ask me questions when I get on these calls with them, when I was actually trying to get on the call with them to ask them questions. So you flip it. Yeah, you have to flip it to make them interested in you. So that way now you're the person that they need to meet, not them being the person you need to meet.
Right. That's powerful, man. And, you know, we've talked at length about your experience in corporate. And I think that that's so important because we live in a society nowadays where a lot of people have gotten that bug of self-employment, gotten that entrepreneurial bite. And we can all admit it's not for everybody, right? And even if a person may have a passion, they may have something that they're interested in doing. I wanted to bring you on here to share that, hey, sometimes you don't have to pick up and leave. You can do the things that you're passionate about and still be successful. You can still do those things that you love to do that connect with your purpose in life. And it can be done all while bringing value to the company that you're currently working at. And you, to me, are a glaring example of that because I used to have the limited mindset of, oh, well, I have this passion. I got to leave because using myself as an example, when I worked at one of the big 4 accounting firms And I just viewed it as, okay, like I'm an accountant and I had this passion for media, doing podcasts, YouTube, things of that nature. And I didn't see how, I never even knew to look at it and say, hey, is there a lane? Is there some aspect of this company that I could do and utilize these skills? And there probably is, looking back now, I know there was. And it's just the fact that I didn't have that mindset to go and look. And I just want to convey that to people out there. Before you leave, before you take that leap, before you take that step, look around and make sure you have examined and overturned every single rock at the place that you're at. Because either one, you can find a position in an area in the company that you didn't know exists, or you may be able to carve out a new aspect in which you can bring value to the company. And ultimately it'll bring, value to their customers and their client base. And they will love to say, hey, you know what? We want you operating in that role because like you mentioned, going back, getting the schooling, getting the training and the teaching that you need is pivotal.
It is. It definitely is. And one thing I want to say to people is companies will pay for your education. You just have to ask the right person when it boils down to it.
Right. See, it goes on. Yeah. Look, it always goes back to relationships, right? You gotta ask the right person.
That's the truth. You have to ask the right person. And if they pay for your education, you as a human being, somebody is paying for your education. You don't have to come out of your pocket for that. You should figure out ways to give them return on their investment, right? Mm-hmm. So if they pay for that, like for me, they pay for my D&I training and I received that certification. I found ways to give them return on their investment by getting involved in different speaking engagements, getting involved in different projects, getting involved with writing different playbooks for underrepresented communities and so forth. Those are the things that I was involved in, and IBM is benefiting from it because their employees are benefiting from that information. Those are documents and videos that are going to live forever. I had to sign contracts to state that, this is the work of IBM, even though that I was the one who helped produce it. And it's going to be available for anybody who comes to IBM well after I'm gone. So it's key. And you as an individual, you have to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, because even if you do leave that company that paid for your education and after you gave them return on your investment, guess what? They can't take your education away from you. You still have it. You can use it somewhere else. Right. And you can use it for yourself if you want, because, the other thing is, even though I do work for IBM, a lot of the skills that I developed at IBM, I'm able to use outside of IBM. Even with the coaching, I'm able to coach people. I'm able to mentor people. I'm able to just talk to people about different things and share information on social media as well. So it's beneficial. It's a win-win for everybody. And ultimately, it's about the people. It's really about the people of this world and giving them the information that they need, because people are hungry for information. And if you have something, share it. That's the biggest piece. Hey, everybody. My name is Calvin Purnell Jr. This is great to be on the show, Why We Succeed. I hope this information is going to be impacting to you and powerful for you. I was very happy to be able to share this information with you and Jay. You can find me on any social media platform and just type my name in, Calvin Purnell Jr. It will pop up. You'll see a picture of me. On Instagram, you'll see my name come up as Calvin Purnell, but also as Mindfully Speaking. Facebook and Twitter, it's Calvin Purnell Jr. But you'll be able to find me in those spaces, as well as LinkedIn. I do a lot of networking on LinkedIn. You can catch me there as well. And those are the platforms that I use regularly. I also have a couple of books that I wrote too. So if you have interest in purchasing those books after listening to this show, please feel free to purchase them. If you want to get them directly from me, you can email me at cp@cpspeaks.com. I'll say that again, cp@cpspeaks.com. If you want to email me directly and say that you'd like to purchase them from me so that way you can get a signed copy along with a personalized message, we can do that too. I use the different payment platforms as well, so we won't have any issues and we'll be able to go from there. And the books are called Polish the Young Professional's Guide for Success and Polish Preparing for What's Next. And I'm also working on the third book, and that'll be out shortly. So happy to be here. And if there's anything that I can do for any of you, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help.